The 12-year-old threw his 2-year-old brother so hard against a bookcase he was left unconscious. His mum left him on the floor for 2 hours while he died. Hello true crime fans and welcome to Behind the Yellow Tape. The air in Jacksonville, Florida is often heavy with humidity, but in the spring of 2011 a different kind of heaviness settled over the city. It was the weight of a question that American legal system wasn't prepared to answer. At what point does the victim become a monster? Biannela Susana was 2 years old. When he was brought into the emergency room at Northwest Florida State Hospital, he was already brain dead. The injuries described by the medical examiner are not the result of a slip or a tumble. They are the result of sustained blunt force trauma. David had been slammed into a bookshelf with such velocity that his skull fractured. The impact caused a massive subdural hematoma. His brain was bleeding and swelling against the bone until it simply shut down. He also suffered a broken leg and various contusions that suggested this wasn't the first time his small body had been a punching bag. But the person who delivered those blows wasn't a grown man or a seasoned killer. It was his 12-year-old half-brother, Cristian Hernandez. To understand the crime, we have to look at the environment that forged the killer. Cristian was born to a 12-year-old girl. His early life was a roadmap of systematic failures. He witnessed his stepfather commit suicide in front of him. He was shuffled through a foster care system that failed to treat the trauma of a child who had been sexually abused and physically discarded. By age 12, Cristian was a boy who lived in a permanent state of fight or flight. That March afternoon, Cristian's mother, Biannela Susana, left him alone to babysit David. What happened in those hours is a nightmare of domestic horror. According to investigators, Cristian became frustrated. He didn't just snap, he unleashed a lifetime of inherited violence onto a toddler. He picked David up and threw him. He watched the boy go limp. Perhaps the most chilling detail is what happened next. Cristian didn't call 911. He didn't shout for help. He just picked up his brother's unconscious body and put him on the sofa and began to clean the apartment. When his mum returned home, she didn't call for an ambulance either. She waited 2 hours. 2 hours! While David's brain continued to swell before finally taking him to the hospital. By then, the damage was irreversible. The state of Florida responded with a hammer. State Attorney Angela Corey made the controversial decision to charge 12-year-old Cristian as an adult for first-degree murder. This move ignited a national firestorm. On one side, you had a dead 2-year-old and a crime of staggering brutality. On the other, you had a child defendant who, according to many child psychologists, lacked the neurological development to fully grasp the finality of his actions. Cristian Hernandez became the youngest person in Jacksonville history to be charged with first-degree murder. He sat in a courtroom where his chin barely cleared the table, facing the prospect of life in prison without parole. The first-degree murder charges, the ones that carried the weight of a lifetime behind bars, never reached a jury. Instead, a dream team of pro bono attorneys took on the case, arguing that a child who couldn't legally buy a ticket to an R-rated movie shouldn't be sentenced to die in a cage. They highlighted the profound neurological deficits of a boy whose brain was marinated in trauma since birth. In 2013, a plea deal was struck. Cristian Hernandez pleaded guilty to manslaughter and aggravated battery. On the 15th of January 2018, the day after his 19th birthday, Cristian Hernandez walked out of the facility. He was no longer a child defendant, but a young man entering a world that only knew him as a headline. He was placed on 8 years of strict probation with conditions that he hold a job, continue intensive therapy, and avoid any contact with minors. As of 2026, Cristian is nearing the end of that decade-long supervision. His mother, Biannela Susana, also served time for her role in David's death, convicting of aggravated manslaughter for the 2 hours she waited to seek help while her son lay dying. This case remains a scar on the Florida legal system. It changed how juveniles are prosecuted in the DeVal County, serving as a grim benchmark for the debate between retribution and rehabilitation. We are left with 2 images of the same tragedy: a 2-year-old boy whose life ended on a bookshelf, and a 12-year-old boy who was already dead inside long before he ever raised his hands in anger. One was buried the other was given a second chance. Whether that second chance can ever balance the scales is a question only Cristian's future can answer. Thank you for listening today, and remember, stay behind the yellow tape.